Doug Ford, which is Canada. Doug Ford is the premier over in Canada, and his response to Trump's tariffs is it's not going to be good for anybody. We love you over in America, but we're going to have to retaliate, and this is what they had to say.
And I'm joined now by someone who's at the front lines of what is becoming a trade war between the United States and Canada, Doug Ford, who is the premier of Ontario. Mr. Ford, thank you so much for joining me. We appreciate it. You told reporters last week that you and top Canadian officials have prepared retaliatory tariffs for whatever President Trump announces tomorrow. Will the severity of your response depend on what you hear from President Trump?
That's correct, Ryan. First of all, I always start off every interview saying Canadians love Americans. They love the U.S. I love the U.S. I spent 20 years of my life there. But yes, we're going to retaliate. We're going to retaliate appropriately, but hard as well. As I've always said, we have the two greatest countries in the world. Let's build an AMCAN fortress. You know, President Trump ran on growing the economy, creating jobs. And that's not going to happen. It's going to hurt the American economy. I don't call it Liberation Day for Americans. I call it Termination Day because there are people going to be laid off. Assembly lines will shut down. You can't just cut off your largest customer in the world, and that's Canada. And we're at a fever pitch right now in this country as my American friends are just going on their daily business every day. There's 40 million Canadians that are ramped up, literally going down retail shopping aisles, looking to see what's made in Canada, what's made in the U.S. I've never seen anything like it.
And you said, sir, that you spoke to Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick about what to expect for Ontario tomorrow, and that he didn't even know. What does that tell you about how the way the administration is handling all of this?
Well, I'm not too sure how the administration's handling this. Sometimes I wonder, do they really not know? Or are they just blowing smoke? I think a lot of them really don't know. At least the senators and governors and Congress women and men, they aren't too sure what's going on. And to be very frank, we aren't too sure. So let's see what happens on tomorrow, April 2nd. The market's going to respond negatively. These are people's pension funds. Americans will be hurt. And that's the last thing I want to see. I want to build a strong AMCAN fortress to protect Canada and the U.S. We have the critical minerals, we have the energy, we have the potash and the uranium, and the list goes on. And there's no one else I'd want to sell to more than our greatest allies and friends in the entire world.
Well, that's cool. But again, I think that we need to make sure that we're not subsidizing the economies of other places. And I don't care if they are to our north. The problem is that we are losing American jobs and they are going over to, and it is basically making sure that other economies such as Canada thrive. That is the real major issue, honestly. It's not just that there's a trade deficit. It's not just that we are partners and they up to the north. None of that really matters. The problem is that, and again, it's not just Canada, it's everywhere, is that everybody has been taking advantage of American consumers. We have basically been robbing Peter to pay Paul. We have a trade deficit that is $37 trillion. And we need to make sure that since we are the biggest consumers, that we are buying American or we are charging them tariffs so that we can generate more revenue over here in the United States of America. That's just the facts. That's just the facts. They keep saying that we partners. Listen, if this is what friends look like, then I don't want enemies. If this is what friends look like, then I don't want enemies. And basically Trump is making a pitch to all companies outside of America, including to Canada, and say, hey, come and build here, and then you won't receive tariffs, and then you'll be able to benefit from the American economy.
I have to imagine, though, that level of unpredictability makes it very difficult for you as well. Talk to me a little bit about how just not knowing what this outcome could be and the impact that could potentially have on both the economy of the United States and Canada.
Well, Ryan, no one likes uncertainty. Americans don't like uncertainty. Canadians don't. Businesses don't. The market doesn't like uncertainty. It stalls investments. That's the last thing we want to do, especially with turbulent times happening around the world. You have to stick together. We're part of the family, as we believe, for 200 years, and I know a lot of Americans feel the same way. We're there to support our greatest friends and allies. We'll always be there. but we can't be under attack by one person.
When we spoke to you last month, you said that you rescinded your threat to impose a surcharge on electricity imports to the U.S. Are you prepared now to go forward with that charge if the new tariffs are imposed again against Canada and Ontario in particular?
Well, the reason we did that, I want to bring the temperature down. I wanted to sit in front of Secretary Lutnick and get the whole story. And yes, we got together, had a good conversation. But the only thing acceptable is zero tariffs. We need, Americans, and Americans need Canadians. We have such an incredible relationship together. I've talked to endless CEOs of businesses. I've yet to find one CEO that agrees with this. It's just going to hurt their economy. That's what it's going to come down to.
And of course, CEOs are going to say that they're against it because it will force them to actually have to build plants and support the United States of America. It forces them to rethink their budget. It forces them to actually make products inside of the United States of America. It forces them to make difficult decisions. But nonetheless, we have to force you to do it, or you can pay the tariff of whatever it is. And if Canada decides that they want to respond with tariffs of their own or something like that, then we do reciprocal tariffs. And then it's a race to the bottom for you guys. But guess what? We're going to be okay here in the United States of America.
And people are going to be laid off in the U.S. So that's the last thing we want to do. I always say you can't unscramble an egg. You have to make the omelet larger. And who better than with your closest friends and allies? And so we're prepared. We have additional $65 billion of retaliatory tariffs on the table. We've already done $60 billion. That is going to hurt, and it's going to hurt a lot. That's the last thing we want to do. But we just aren't going to roll over. And I got to apologize to the American people. We absolutely love you. I'm sorry you've been put in this position, but we have no choice.
Let's play a little bit of what your Prime Minister, Mark Carney, told reporters today about the situation you're facing. Take a listen.
We will not disadvantage Canadian producers and Canadian workers relative to American workers. So there are measures that we can take that at a minimum level the playing field with the United States. And again, it depends on the broader measures they take tomorrow, if indeed they do against Canada.
And maybe explain, what sort of measures is he talking about there?
Well, I agree with the Prime Minister 100%. We just want to see the list, per se, of the tariffs that we're going to be facing. And then we'll go tariff for tariff, dollar for dollar. And it's unfortunate. There's so many other countries that aren't our friends, let's say. We need to be focused on China, not your closest friend in the world, part of the family, Canada. It's just the wrong thing to do. We're the number one trading partner to 28 states across the country. Just Ontario alone, 9 million Americans wake up every morning to produce products for Ontario alone. And what's happening with the retailers and other people, they're trying to onboard people that make a certain widget. Let's bring them to Ontario. We'll give them an incentive. The government will help you build the building, give you tax breaks, just on board into Ontario or somewhere in Canada.
Nope.
And that's going to cost American jobs. This is the most ridiculous.
Nope. We want you to build right here in America or expand in America and continue to support American jobs. That's what we want.
Ridiculous thing I've ever seen. Let's work together. Let's be the two strongest nations in the world.
All right, Premier Ford, as a Western New York native, I've spent a lot of time in your province, a beautiful part of the world. So it was great to talk to you, and we'll have to see what.
Shout out to Doug Ford. We appreciate you for cooperating, and so we're going to continue to monitor the situation. And then every day that we live stream, which is Monday through Friday, we'll be bringing you the news and keeping you up to date on what's going on in these streets, all right?